Receive with growthtofreedom.com. Freedom is the new capital, and we're helping leaders, executives, business owners, and you transform your career, business, life, and relationships. This is the Growth to Freedom Show. Now, here is your host, Dan Kuschell.
Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that shows you how to transform your life, business, and relationships. I'm Dan Kuschell, and thanks for making us part of your day. Wherever you may be joining us, whether it's online, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on iTunes, or here live in Phoenix, we're glad to have you a part of the show. We've got a great show today for you. First of all, the show is brought to you by Genius Network, and all of our guests made available through the Genius Network hotline. We'd love to connect with you as well. You can join us on Twitter at Dan_Kuschell. That's Dan_Kuschell, or email us at the show at info@growthtofreedom.com. So what do we have in store for you today? Well, first, more clarity, confidence, and direction. Our featured guests, we've got Dr. Cristy Lopez, psychologist. She's been an expert on Dr. Phil and the show Downsized, and she's going to talk about success, what separates the winners from the losers, if you will, in life, in relationships, in business, although she probably wouldn't say it that way. I'm giving you my pop psychology point of view on that, but the bottom line is she's going to talk to you about why some people get massive success and others don't, and the results, the clarity she brings just might shock you. What works, what doesn't work, and how to take your success to the next level. And another topic we're going to be hitting on today is the simple investment secret and strategy that Warren Buffett gave Lebron James, and that you can use starting today for long-term financial security. We've got another guest expert, Phil Mutry. He's going to be joining us. He's the CEO of Extreme Wealth Potentials. How about the business of Netflix and how the House of Cards has actually changed the landscape of business and TV forever, and what you can be doing to build your bigger future. That and a whole lot more coming up. Now, I'd like to get into it because, you know, I like to start my shows with something funny. And, you know, I don't know about you, but have you ever been in a place where you were dealing with adversity, where maybe you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, you know, you hit your head on the headboard, or maybe, you know, kicked your toe on the end of that, you know, terrible table as you walking by, or the counter? Well, have you ever heard of Gandhi? Well, Gandhi's got an interesting story of dealing with adversity, dealing with obstacles, dealing with failure. Now, as you may know, Gandhi literally changed the world, but he was a celebrated religious leader. He walked mostly in his bare feet. So his feet became hard-skinned and gnarly, if you will. Can you imagine that? Picture that for a second. He also fasted a lot, and when he did eat, it was sparingly and often not very nutritious. And so that left him very frail. It left him weak. It left him meek. And he had really bad breath. In fact, it caused one follower to remark, "Here comes the super calloused, fragile mystic plagued with halitosis." And guess what? They always say that they've never erected a statue for a critic, right? And so although there are critics out there who, you know, notate his bad breath, the reality is he changed the landscape of the world and made a big difference out there. Now, one of our guests today is Dr. Cristy Lopez. I'm going to talk more about her in just a few minutes, but we were talking last night as we were preparing for the show, and she asked me a really great question. She said, you know, Dan, what is growth to freedom? And as you're listening right now, maybe you're driving, maybe you're listening at work, maybe you're watching us online, watching us on TV, you know, growth to freedom. See, growth to freedom is all about you. That's right, you, right here, right now. In fact, I want you to sit down and think about this if you've got the ability. Obviously, if you're driving, maybe pull over to the side. Be very careful with what you're doing. But I want you to think about, what is growth for you? Answer that question, what is growth? And then answer the question, what is freedom to you? See, in all my years, I've been fortunate to work with hundreds and thousands of people all over the world. And every time I ask the question, what is freedom? What is growth to you? I've gotten thousands and thousands of different answers. But I'm going to give you a context of what it means for me and why we actually created this show. Because quite frankly, this show is a dream come true. This is about inspiring. It's about leadership, entrepreneurship, intrapreneurship. It's about the hero's journey, if you will. It's about connection to giving you access to the top experts in the world. My mission is to be able to go out and inspire and impact millions of people all over the world to be better entrepreneurs, better leaders, better parents, and more. It's about overcoming adversity. It's about hope. You know, it's about tapping into that genius inside of you. That's right. I know right now you've got a song inside of you. You've got a book inside of you. You've got a voice. And you know what? I know for a lot of my life, I've let that voice be weighed down. I've let that book inside of me stay dormant. Well, this show is about helping you to break through your fears, break through your obstacles, and show you that those dreams can come true. This is about capitalism. It's about tapping into the American dream, because the American dream is alive and well. We're at one of the greatest times in human history. And now it's time for you to capitalize on it. It's time for you to be a part of that awakening. So that's what this show is about. Now, what about freedom? You know, what is your definition of freedom? You know, I believe it's the pursuit of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, right? That God-given gift, that privilege that you and I possess. And it's inside of you. If you'll just get the fears out of the way, take that walk, take that first step. And maybe this show is going to be a catalyst to help you take that first step, or take that next step of success, or be able to go out and impact and inspire hundreds of thousands of people. So what is freedom to you? How did I get here? You know, what's interesting, you know, for me, freedom is about the ability to be able to do what you want, when you want, where you want, right? And that, you know, that might be a different definition for you. If I ask 1,000 people, I usually get 1,000 different answers. But I've learned in freedom from a great friend, Dan Sullivan, who works a lot with Genius Network. He talks about freedom to and freedom from. And a lot of times we're afraid of the freedom to things, but we're more motivated by the freedom from. And I want to share with you, for me, the freedom to is to be able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, and where you want. And the freedom from is getting free from the limitations, the dangers. You know, that you have that little voice in your head, that little voice of doubt. I don't know about you, but I like to take that little voice of doubt and I like to beat it on the table, right? And break that voice of doubt. And or another way you could look at it is take that voice of doubt, and I don't know if it's kind of loud in your head, loud in your ear, just kind of turn the volume down and actually push the reset button or push the mute button. You don't have to deal with limitation or obstacles anymore. It's your life. What are you going to do with it? It's your time to do something big, to do something special. And that's what this show is about, tapping into what's special. Now, how did we get here? This has been an incredible, incredible journey. It's about overcoming adversity. You know, I'm a dad. I see myself as a leader, an entrepreneur. I've run 9 different companies. You know, maybe like you. I've gone through some tough times. You know, over the 20-year history of my business career, I've gone through ups and downs. You know what? We all go through cycles in life, right? We have a spring season, summer season, fall season, and winter season. I've gone through that too. Some of those seasons I wish were a little shorter. Maybe that's why I moved to Arizona, because I wanted summer all the time, right? Maybe you could relate to that. And at the end of the day, what I found and what I discovered is that, you know, back in 2007, 2 weeks after my son was born, I found out that I had a heart issue. I ended up waking up with chest pains, ended up rushing into a hospital, spent 4 days in that hospital. I had to sign a disclaimer. It said, Dan, you have a 1 in 500 chance of dying on the table. Now, 1 in 500 may not sound a lot until they put that little statement at the end, chance of dying. And it scared the heck out of me. And it was at that point I made some huge changes. Although I was making a great living at that time, I realized what was important. And after the break, coming up next with Dr. Cristy Lopez, we're going to talk about some of those things that she helped break through for me, help me lift my limitations, overcome my obstacles, and really take a hold of those fears and set them aside so that I could do what I want to do, know what I stood for, and what was important to me. And we're going to share those tips and strategies and a whole lot more. But before we go, I want to tell you about a free gift package that we've got for you today. And I want to give you a free gift package right now. This free gift package is valued at $197, and it's yours free when you call us right now. Now, you're going to get access to 2 of our top-selling books. We've got A Champion in the Making, Awaken the Champion Within Your Life, Business, Relationships, and Walking with the Wise, collection of over 35 of the top mentors, leaders in the world. We've got a video program for you. We've got an audio program for you, Secrets to Better Influence, Persuasion in Communication, How to Have a Greater Impact, Reach, Power, Confidence. And it's yours now when you pick up the phone right now and get this $197 gift package. You can call now at 602-246-3389. That's 602-246-3389. Or you can go to our website at growthtofreedom.com/gift. That's growthtofreedom.com/gift. When we come back, we'll have Dr. Cristy Lopez, psychologist, expert, been on Dr. Phil and Downsized. We'll be right back after this break.
Get your free Growth to Freedom gift package now. Includes 2 books, audio, and video program to transform your life, business, and relationships. Call now at 6...
Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com, the show that helps you transform your life, business, and relationships, giving you greater clarity, confidence, and direction. Our last segment, we've been talking about what is growth to freedom. In fact, we talked about Gandhi and the difference he's making. This segment is going to be a great segment because we have a good friend of mine, Dr. Cristy Lopez. She's an expert psychologist. She's been on Dr. Phil. She's been on the show Downsized. And I know for me, we've had the opportunity to work together over the years, and I have to read a disclaimer here because, you know, the world says that if you get advice from us, it might unfairly entice you to actually want to do business with us or something. And so being a part of the show does not create a patient-therapist relationship of any kind between us and you or Cristy Lopez. And so in this audio is in no way intended to be a substitute for seeking professional assistance for physical, psychological, spiritual, relationship, career, leadership, or other challenges. So with that said, we're going to talk about some of the things that I've gone through because we met several years ago when I was going through some tough time. And if you're just joining us, you know, we talked about growth to freedom and how we got here. And maybe like you, I've gone through quite a few challenges over the years. I've had a 20-year career in business. And with that 20-year career has been a roller coaster of ups and downs, admittedly. I'm not afraid to say this. I mean, in my history of my career, I've gone through bankruptcy. I've gone through divorce. I've had good days. I've had bad days. I've had good months, good years, and I've had bad ones. And the fact is, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's how long you stay there. And more importantly, do you get up? And this incredible lady is someone who was at a place in time for me that she was there to help me get up. She was helped me to really identify what was important. And I'm just grateful to have you a part of the show. So welcome, Dr. Lopez.
Well, thank you. First of all, I just want to say congratulations. And it has been a real privilege for me to see you and all your hard work and to be a part of this journey with you. It's just been incredible. So,
well, thank you. So
I'd
love to dive right into it with our viewers, our listeners. And again, thanks for being a part of our show. Thanks for making us a part of your day because we want you to walk out of here with some incredible strategy that you can put in place. Now, as we dealt with each other, I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
As you're watching or listening right now, have you ever been at a place where you were like, you know what? Why is it that some people seem to have that golden touch, that Midas touch, if you will, and other people, no matter what they try, seem to fail? Now, you've worked with thousands of clients here in Phoenix and all over the country for the last X number of years. How many years has it been, by the way?
Oh, my God. I think it's already been over 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
So thousands. So you have a pretty good case history,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And so needless to say, you may have a little inkling of what some people do to get success versus others. So why don't you share? I know that's a pretty broad statement, right? But if you had to sum up, what are some of the key ingredients, the key factors of those who achieve success? And success, by the way, let's define it, right? In fact, why don't you define success for those who are watching? Because I think one of the biggest problems, biggest myths, biggest lies is what we have been brought up, maybe even brainwashed to think of what success might be. And it's quite different. And you got me to realize that. So why don't you hit on that?
Yeah. Kind of one of my famous things is somebody will say something like, what is success? Or, ask me something like that. And it's, well, what does it mean? What does it mean to you? Because everybody is different. There are things that we share just because we're all humans, but everybody is also unique. So you really need to get in touch and understand for you uniquely, what does that mean? What does it really mean? So success, just like when you were describing what growth to freedom is, growth, freedom, those can mean various different things to various different people. Same thing with success. But you got to know what that is for yourself.
So in other words, what you're saying is really we need to look inside of us.
Yes.
And I've heard the statement that, success comes from the inside out, right? And, I know you live that. I know you teach that in not only your coaching, but also the work that you do in the clinical area overall. But, so from success, what I learned as a kid, I used to chase the financial success, right? And I think a lot of people do because that's what media teaches us to do. And I realized that although that's a factor, it's one part of success. And, it's really a broader spectrum of mental, physical, social, spiritual, emotional. I know that was a big part of our work together was really tapping into the emotional side of success along with financial. So it's actually 6 areas of life. So what are your thoughts on those 6 areas and what can someone really do to be able to be a better, build a bigger future, as my friend Joe Polish calls it?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to be aware of all of those aspects of yourself, and then what do these things really mean? Because if you are just kind of going along with the 1 or 2 of these things, then you're really limiting your ability to grow in multiple ways. So it's a comprehensive view that really helps people to really kind of even go further than pretty much most people, because for some reason, most people are very limited in the way that they see themselves or the way that they kind of construct their identity. When we have capacity for so much, and as you broaden that, you broaden your ability for success.
And what it reminds me of, I remember a show as a kid. It was called The Flintstones. Flintstones, meet the Flintstones, right?
Yeah.
And the whole thing was with the Flintstones. They had like this wheel that wasn't really like a wheel. Right. And as I think about what you were just saying there, it's almost like a wheel. And then what happens sometimes if we don't have all the components of success really wired in, it's almost like a Flintstone wheel where it's kind of jagged and it kind of boom, 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 right? It's not very smooth. And, you know, a lot of people's success, like I've met lots of people who are incredibly financially successful, but are completely dysfunctional in other areas of their life. And in many ways, in my life, I've found that because I'm an obsessive compulsive. I have ADD, not that you, I think, could talk about that officially on the show, but I'm saying it, so I think it's fairly accurate, and you're not disagreeing with me. But the reality is that a lot of times we need to work to be able to have this full, well-rounded, or it's like a cherry pie. You know, instead of having one slice of that pie, maybe financial is honed in, or maybe emotional is honed in. We got to get all the other pieces in place to make it work. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Because I always talk to people about it's like a snowball. Things start snowballing, and they snowball into the reason why people come to see me, because there's a problem. There's like depression, anxiety, addiction, or all these kinds of things. Well, they don't realize that if you become very aware of all of these pieces, so the holistic picture, all of these pieces of this snowball, you can not only slow that snowball down, but you can get it going in the way you want it to go, and then you're working all of the pieces together, and they will influence each other in a positive way, just as they influence each other in a negative way.
So let's talk about those influences, and let's talk about impact, and let's talk about how someone literally can go out and create more confidence, capability, and direction. I know there were 3 questions that you gave me when we had a chance to meet.
Right.
And I can remember them, and I'll share them because I'm putting you on the spot here and throwing like lots of curveballs out of left field compared to what we talked about last night.
Right.
But with that being said, why don't you share with our viewers and our listeners, what are those 3 questions to really hone in and to be thinking about in building overall personal holistic success?
So there's a whole series of questions, but these are the 3 that I start people off with. And it always takes people aback. Okay, so the very first one is, who am I? Okay, a lot of times people are saying, I don't know, and that's why I'm here. Okay, exactly. So let's start working on it. How are you going to develop that? How are you going to know? How are you going to work with that if you don't actually work with it? So yes. So who am I?
And I remember when you asked me that question, it took me like a week to come back with an answer. And then we had to go back to the drawing board because I had the things that I thought you wanted to hear, so to speak.
Right.
And then I had to really get clear on really what is that as far as the characteristics, right?
Yes, because it's to who you really feel, not what you were told or you think should or all that kind of stuff. So it is actually a process. First of all, I've never had anyone be able to just answer that. So, and it does take time, and then we process it and kind of shape it up, and then it's a growing and evolving thing.
So what tips would you give for someone who wants to really hone in and identify who are they?
Get started in answering the question.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, get started in answering the question, and if it even has to be like something very simple, like a role you have, like I'm a dad, or I'm a citizen of the world, or whatever it is, it's just to get started. And I would say write. Don't type, write. Because there is research that shows writing, handwriting, the neurolinguistics of that, it really helps get this set in your brain, processed in your brain, and it actually makes people happier. So start writing this stuff out.
So it starts with the first question of who are you? Start writing, take the steps, and start with identifying what role you play, but that role is not truly who we are. And when we come back next, we're going to go further into that. We're going to cover the other 2 questions. They're going to be transformational for you when you leave the show today to help you get more clarity, confidence, and direction. But before we do that, I've got a free gift package for you that I want to get in your hands right now. Now, I promised you a free gift package. I want to give that to you. It's our gift to you for watching, listening, being a part of the show. It's valued at $197 and yours free when you call us right now at 602-246 3389. We've got a whole assortment of training materials, resources, and tips to be able to give you. You get our 2 top-selling books, A Champion in the Making, Waking the Champion Within Your Life, Business, and Relationships, Walking with the Wise, collection of over 30 of the greatest mentors and leaders, including yours truly, in history, as well as an audio program, video program. You're going to get hiring secrets, secrets to better influence, persuasion, and communication, to have a greater impact, reach, power, confidence, and they're yours right now for free when you call 602-246-3389. That's 602-246-3389, or go to the website at growthtofreedom.com/info. That's growthtofreedom.com/info. When we come back, we'll join Dr. Cristy Lopez talking about who we are, the other 2 questions, why some people hit success and others don't. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com, the show that helps you transform your life, business, and relationships, giving you greater confidence, clarity, and capabilities. In our last segment, we've been talking with Dr. Cristy Lopez, a dear friend. She's an expert psychologist. She's been on Dr. Phil, the show Downsized. I mean, she's been instrumental in helping me understand who I am, what do I really want, and also what I stand for, to be able to make better decisions. You know, in life, I don't know if you found this to be true, but sometimes the toughest choice is to say no. I know for me, having run businesses, 9 different companies over the last 20 years or more, actually more companies than that, the hardest thing for me to do sometimes has been to say no. I mean, you know, opportunities just come from everywhere. There's opportunities everywhere, and I can look at an opportunity and look, but you know what? Sometimes the best choice is the choice that, you know, nope, this isn't the right choice. I know Warren Buffett has apparently a punch card, and he says, you know what? That punch card, once I fill it up, I can't use it anymore, and he's given himself 20 opportunities to say yes to in his lifetime, apparently. And, you know, my friend Joe Polish, he talks about it. It's not the to-do list that's the most important. It's the not-to-do list. And that not-to-do list becomes very prevalent in what we were talking about in our previous segment about who we are and these other 2 questions. So, you know, why don't you give us an example, Dr. Lopez, about who, given a before example, someone maybe you've worked with, obviously you can't use any names, but someone comes in, who they label themselves as walking in the door, and then maybe an after picture when they really have honed in and said, you know, this is it. This is really who I am at my core, and it makes more sense, and it's more tangible for them. Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so the who am I question is really a question of identity. And that is what a lot of people, no matter why they come in, that is one of the things that we always go over, because a lot of people are not even really sure of who they are and these other questions. The
I know I dealt with that walking in your office.
Right.
I was surprised to find out how much hard work this really was.
Right.
That it was like peeling an onion. I had to get beyond the layers of it to really get to the core of the answering the question.
And that's what it is. And it is a process. So it does continue to grow and evolve, because a lot of times, you know, after people kind of get over the shock and then start kind of exploring this and writing this, they go to something that is more kind of easy and tangible, of like, well, the roles that they have. But
like I did, which was dad.
Yes,
I considered myself a leader, a dad, a coach, an entrepreneur, those kind of, very surface level type thing. So, and
all that stuff is true, but there are multiple levels. So sometimes what happens is people say, like, I'm just kind of remembering, this tends to happen a lot with women. They will do the roles and they'll do all these things about like who they are, but in relation to other people or other like contexts.
Right.
And then after they tell me this stuff, then I'm like, and so who are you? like you as a standalone individual person. And then a lot of times they're stuck there again. So sometimes people will start off with that, like, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a
midnight toker.
Okay. Something like, I forgot you sing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a song, right? Yeah. Okay. Not that I really.
Right. Yes. But after they
no,
go
I'm a lover. Anyway.
Usually people are multiple things. Yes.
Yes.
And then that's kind of what the end, and it's not really at the end, but as it develops, that's what it becomes. It's this multidimensional. People are multidimensional, and the thing is the who. I am a person who. Okay, who, and then you can kind of branch off into these kinds of things. Because this is going to actually help you get a lot to the these beliefs that you have about yourself. And so I'd rather have somebody be very aware and start doing this work and make sure they're very assured and clear on what this is, because if they're not, then their whole identity is actually more like reactionary and dependent on how other people are defining them.
So with that, paint a picture for an example. So project someone a year out after working with you theoretically. They've come in like I did, right? And maybe they said, I'm a dad, I have those types of roles and labels, entrepreneur, business owner, etc. And then what's the after?
Well, the
or
after,
examples of the after.
The examples of the after, it is going to expand into the other questions too.
Right.
And then there's questions beyond these three, but the second question is the what do I want?
What do I want?
Okay, so and again, a lot of people
What do
have a
I
hard
really
time.
want?
Yeah, because a lot of people have a real hard time with that. And the what do I stand for, which are your values. What do I stand for? So I usually give the who am I and what do I want together, and then we do the value ones. And so it's kind of like that snowball idea. So they start rolling on each other too. So at the end, you get more of or towards the, through the process, you get more of this, I am a person who, and then it kind of comes into all of these things. So I'm a person who is able to handle what comes at me. I am a person that is able to have a relationship with my significant other that is truly meaningful. I am a person that is able to connect with a greater, so they start expanding into all of these different, like I think what you were saying before about the spiritually, mentally, financially. So all of their different kind of like domains that they're in, all of their different roles, all of their different actions, all of their different relationships. And the core of it is that they are this person that is able to do and be in all of these multiple ways.
And speaking to that, I remember going through the process, and maybe you remember the time that we were working together, maybe not. And at the time, 2 weeks after Kyler, my son, was born in 2007, I had this heart issue. I ended up in the hospital, and so that wasn't too long thereafter that we had a chance to meet each other, and I came to actually see you. And we went through this process, and we started really honing in, what do I really want? And one of the things at that time, I was running 5 companies, and I was working about 100 hours a week. And after that experience in the hospital, I was like, well, what do I really want? And I realized it wasn't running the 5 companies. It wasn't, having 175 or more team members or employees. It wasn't all, we were making a nice living, making a nice impact, making a big difference in the world. However, I realized for me, that's really not what I wanted anymore, right? And that's the other part. You can change your point of view at any point, right?
Yes, this is an evolution.
It's an evolution, and it's personal. It becomes very personal of identifying what you want. And I remember thinking, what do I really want? Within 2 years or so, I had sold the companies, as you remember, and I started on the new journey of what I really wanted to be doing, which at the time I became a full-time dad. I was only working with independent project. It ultimately led me to working with Genius Network. And by the way, all of our guests are brought to you by the Genius Network hotline, and we're brought to you by Genius Network as well. And,
and the beauty thing is you're able to construct how this went versus either kind of lucky breaks, not so lucky breaks. Oh, this thing kind of came at you or it didn't. You now actually have more control of how things are going to go and how you construct and what you do choose, what you don't choose. So you are more the captain of your ship versus kind of being out there and letting things just happen.
Yeah, like being a boat without a rudder, so you end up on the freaking rocks.
Right, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And, who wants to be in that kind of a boat
exactly.
led by that kind of a captain? And I felt like that was the kind of captain I was in my family ship.
Yeah.
And I wanted to really hone in. Number one, as you know, I lost over 70 pounds. I know we could spend a lot more time, but, I can't stress the importance of the impact that these 3 questions had on me and will have on you if you actually apply them. So identify who you are at the core. What do you really want? And then what do you stand for? I know I came up with the whole Kuschell values or modified them as a result of our meeting and doing this process, which was the CHAMPION acronym, right? Commit or choose, I should say, health, action, mastery, purpose, invest in yourself, opportunity seeker, and never quit on you. Champion, and really living by those true values. And, that's just one way to do it. And that's the way that I chose to do it. But even my kids now who are 9 and 7, that you can ask them, well, what are the Kuschell values? And they'll champion and they'll go through it. And it's just, it's as a dad, it really is touching to know that we're having an impact at that type of level. And that's what you do. That's what you bring. So speak to the values and why values are so important, not only at home, not only as a person, but in companies too. What do you see that works and what do you see that also keeps people from having the success they deserve?
This also is very core to your identity, because who are you? What do you stand for? This again, if you don't actively construct these things, then you're out there with life happening to you. So if you don't know what you stand for, then you are going to be vulnerable to all kinds of different things. You're going to have a harder time trying to figure out what decisions to make or what to do because you're kind of like all over the place. But once you get this core set of values, this is actually the thing again also about contentment. Okay. Now a lot of people always say they're looking for happiness, and that is great, but I think it's really this kind of more trait of contentness. People who are in line and live their life in line with their values tend to be more content.
And speaking of content, I want to make sure that as you're watching, as you're listening right now, we want you to be content. And what I'd love to do, can you stick around for our next segment?
Oh, sure.
I'd love you to, because folks, if you're listening right now, we've got Dr. Cristy Lopez. After this short break, we have Phil Mutry, CEO and expert at Extreme Wealth Potentials, is going to be our guest. We're going to be talking about what's happening with Netflix, why it's setting TV and the media world on its ear. We're going to talk about Warren Buffett's investment strategy. I know you've had a lot of experience with business success, financial success as well. But before we do that and go to break, how can people reach you? How can people get a chance to meet you, connect with you? What's your website address? What's your number to reach you at?
My website is Cristy Lopez, so it's going to be my name spelled out, CristylopezPhD.com.
So CristyLopezPhD.com.
Yes, so that's my website, and you can find more information there. You can always call me, which calling is a good way to get me,
yep.
602-323-7824, 602-323-7824.
And I know you're not the cheapest person in town by any means, but I'm going to tell you from my experience, she's well worth it to be able to. I would encourage you to get in touch with her. She's got coaching. She does therapy. And I will share this. I know you've made a huge impact in my life. And if you're on the fence, you need some support, you need some help in life coaching or coaching in general, or even therapy for that matter, I would highly encourage you to get in touch with Cristy. Go to CristyLopezPhD.com. Get more information. You can call her office. That number one more time.
602-323-7824.
One more time?
602-323-7824.
All right, coming up next, we've got Phil Mutry, CEO of Extreme Wealth Potentials. And before we do that, I promised you a free gift, so you can pick that up by calling our office right now at 602-246-3389. You're going to get a $197 Growth to Freedom gift package. We'll get you more information, too, from Dr. Cristy Lopez. You'll get our books, our audio program, our video program. Call now. Pick up the phone, 602-246-3389, or go to the website at growthtofreedom.com/gift. growthtofreedom.com/gift. We'll be back right after this short break. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com, the show that helps you transform your life, business, and relationships, giving you greater clarity, confidence, and direction. We've been with Dr. Cristy Lopez, PhD, psychologist. She's been on Dr. Phil. She's also been on the show's Downside. She's been talking about success, why some people get it, why some people don't. I'd love for you to stick around. I know we've got Phil Mutry. He's an expert at being able to help people get more freedom, joy, happiness, and ongoing achievement. Started his business in 2007. He's also a dear friend. We had a chance to work together for a few years, and he's been able to make a huge difference. Phil, how are you doing today? I'm doing fantastic, and we're glad to have you a part of the show. So we've been talking about success overall, and you know what? There was an article that came in that I was able to read today, Phil, and I thought you'd be the perfect person to talk about it. On CBC News, they were talking about Netflix and House of Cards. You know this show, House of Cards? It's an incredible show, but get this. House of Cards literally was on the brink of taking Netflix down. They had a $100 million investment they put into this show, Phil. And now today they look like genius being able to take that risk, and they're saying that it's transforming how we watch and define TV. Other services like Amazon, Google, YouTube, they're spending big money now to be a part of it. Now, House of Cards is in its third season, and to me, how I look at this is it's about being progressive. It's about being innovative. It's about being disruptive and dealing with the friction that we get in business to sometimes hang a left when everybody else is going right. And I know you've been a master at that. You've been a master at teaching that. So I'd love for our listeners, our viewers, to get your perspective on success. I know you've worked with thousands of people all over the country, in fact, all over the world in North America. What would you say is a key or a couple key ingredients that, knowing what you know now today, Phil, what would you do different if you were starting over today?
Well, if I was starting over today, Dan, I would have to look back at when I started before. And as you know, you knew me when I was coming in, just wanting to, just with that desire to become successful. And I was on the verge of losing my home, on the verge of having a vehicle repossessed and living on the street. And then what I found was investment in mentorship. So I refused really to invest in my education and to really move on to learn things. But if I was to do things differently from scratch, number one, I would be investing in my education, thus being in mentorship program. I would be immediately building my authority. First and foremost, I would be branding myself. So I would definitely brand myself, and an easy way to do that is just by following suit of the industry. People use their first and last name initials. So if you follow people in the online industry, that's what they do with their initials. And I would pretty much, first and foremost, publish a book, because it is so easy nowadays, especially on Amazon, to make it a bestseller. So I would become a best-selling author, and then from there I would follow that up by a celebrity tie-in to NBC, ABC, and Fox networks.
So let me see if I've got this correctly and summarize everything you've just shared, because there's a lot of great wisdom there that you just gave everybody a big right hook and a left cross. So number one, you'd focus on authority. Number two, you'd focus on publishing a book, right, and becoming an author. Then you do a celebrity tie-in and affiliate with the, big, I'll call it the big brands out there, NBC, ABC, etc. Is that what I hear you saying?
You got that. That's correct.
So let me ask you, I know you've had your ups and downs in life. You were on the verge of bankruptcy. What is it you think was a key for you getting out of that hole, not staying down in that place, getting knocked down and not staying down, that helped you be able to achieve a lot of what you have today?
I invested in education for myself. It's what I refused to do for the first 6-7 months that I was in, I was attempting to become successful, but I was doing everything wrong. My first 6 to 7 months, my return on my time investment, which I can tell you is well over 1,000 hours in time investment trying to become successful, and my return on investment was under $20. I think it was around $17.26. My turnaround was when I invested in my education and I invested in mentorship. So education is the key to any success.
And when you invested in that mentorship and education, what happened? That 1,000 hours, $17.26 total return in that 6+ months. After the mentorship and education, what happened?
Well, I was told to do this, and this, because everything else I was doing was wrong. And when I did all that, over the next 4 weeks, I believe I went into a profit of in between 450. I got on a call again with the mentor that I had, and he had said, do this, and this. I did it again, and again, my income was about the same for the next month. But then he said, on the next call, he says, success is just around the corner for you. Don't give up. Do this, and this.
I think I've heard that before. I've definitely heard that. I mean, that sounds like something I would say.
Oh, there you go. But that $400 to $450 turned into $4,000 to $4,500 for the next 2 months after that. The 5th month was Christmas time, and it was the best Christmas I had with my family in my life, because my income for that month was a 5-figure income at $15,500 some odd dollars. It's gone up ever since. I no longer had to even think of living out on the street, having my vehicle repossessed, or losing my home. I'm a happy camper today, and I look forward to. I have a passion of helping others achieve the same.
And speaking of that passion, you brought up something about investing in yourself, education, and mentorship. I was listening to an interview with Warren Buffett here not too long ago, and one of the key ingredients, he said, knowing what he knows now, one of the biggest things that he would do is invest in his own personal development, his education. So, I mean, I think that these are words of wisdom, simple yet true, that you're talking about. And in fact, when we opened the show, I promised an investment strategy from Warren Buffett that he gave LeBron James that you listening right now can put in place. And you know what he said? Get this. It's so simple. And Dr. Lopez, you probably have been teaching this to people for years, which is to invest in low index funds. Amazingly. He says that knowing what he knows now, he said he doesn't know anybody that's followed that strategy long term that hasn't achieved massive success. So what do you think about that advice?
A lot of times that's what it ends up being, is this very simple, seemingly basic advice or basic questions or things that appear basic, but they're not.
It's like that old saying, the least common things, right, guys, is common sense, right? The least common thing is common sense. And so, Phil, let me ask you a question, because we've known each other for many years now, and you have this uncanny ability to overcome obstacles, overcome adversity, overcome friction. What would you say to someone who's facing a setback right now, an obstacle, failure, a mistake, and that you could give them guidance and support? What would that be?
Just to keep trucking along. Like, you have that ability to invest in yourself, invest in that education. And if you invest in your education and you follow what is taught, especially with commitment, dedication, and having the willingness to put forth work efforts into achieving that desired level of success that you deserve or one deserves, successful outcomes just come. It's not a matter of asking how to do something. I am a firm believer now that the how only comes by doing. When you do something, the how just comes. So just do it, set yourself a course, put yourself on a path, and just dig into that success that you deserve.
I agree. It's dig in, just do it, get the success you deserve. And you know what, Phil? Time flies when we're having fun. This segment is coming to a close here. And you know what? I'd love to have you on the show as a guest in a future episode. Could you make a point that we reach out to each other and make sure we have you on for an extended interview? Would that be fun?
Absolutely. Anytime, Dan. Anything
awesome.
For you.
Thanks for being with us today, Cristy. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to have you here. And one last time, we promised a free gift for you today. You can get your free gift package, $197 value, yours right now when you pick up the phone and call 602-246-3389. That's 602-246-3389. We'll give you our 2 top-selling books, audio program, video program, Hiring Secrets to Better Influence, Persuasion, Communication, to have a greater impact, reach, personal power, confidence. It's yours now, 602-246-3389. That's our show for today with Growth to Freedom. I appreciate you. Take the first step, take action, seize the day, and make it a great week.